Now that.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. I, Tracy Donovan,
I, Tracy Donovan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United
of
States,
the United States,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commissioner
faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commissioner
in the City of Breezy Point,
in the City of Breezy Point,
in Crow Wing County,
in Crow Wing County,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right, you're in.
Welcome, Tracy.
Welcome aboard.
Gee, it's nice to be
Oh,
aboard.
Barbara, she should be here.
It doesn't have a place for me to sign it.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it's got Larry Neer and Joe Rudberg.
We'll fix that.
You want me to just sign for Larry or what?
No, here, I'll get you a new one.
I'll sign it for you.
As long as you're significant others, you might as well sign for you.
I think I'd rather have his pen than mine. Why don't you give him mine and I'll take that one? Are they
We're
the
gonna
same?
fix that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I call the meeting to order. Don't even have anyone to welcome except us.
Tracy,
And Tracy, yes.
Look at us.
I will ask for approval of the 9/12/17 minutes.
I will move that to be accepted as drafted.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion passed. City Council Liaison Report. Councilman Miller?
Directly affected this, but just to let you know some items. If you were not aware, but the Personnel Committee and the Council decided to move forward with the compensation and classification study. So we had a firm come in at minimal cost to the city, and JPA picked up a lot of the portion. Basically, we looked at all of our job descriptions, rewrote them, got them all into formal clients. We did have a combination of two job titles, essentially Public Works combined into one Public Works worker. Did have a grade increase, and we've been presented that. We've accepted the new job descriptions, but it's being pushed back into the Personnel Committee to relook at, make sure everything else looks in fine before it goes back to Council for final approval. If you're not aware, Joe Rudberg has put his notice in for retirement as of March. We are in the first phases of looking for a new city administrator, so we got a report on that. And self-explanatory on the administrator and staff reports, we had a shotgun donated to us, and we are moving forward with a Carlite two-trader blade for Public Works. If you have any questions?
Questions of Mike? Yes, not, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I will open public forum number 1 and close public forum number 1. We will move to a public hearing to consider conditional use application, White Birch Inc., to move existing dwelling formerly located at 30793 Ranchette Drive to lots 41 and 42, 24th edition, Breezy Point Estate.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
uh,
Jerry.
the applicant called a little while ago and said he was going to be a little bit late, so maybe we could move on to item G and do that public hearing and then come back to that issue.
Good.
We might even end up going down to item I before he gets here, but
Sounds
he
good.
should be, I would think that the applicant should be present.
Okay. Sounds good. I haven't opened the public hearing, so we'll move to item G on the agenda, which is a public hearing. Consider ordinance 17-05, an ordinance amending estate lots residential B permitted use, amending item 2 dealing with minimum dwelling size. I will open the public hearing And Gary or Joe, could you refresh our memories on this?
Sure. At the last meeting, we talked about an oversight in the drafting of the ordinance when we changed it from the chart form to the narrative form. And the commission felt that the change was warranted and asked that I put it in ordinance form. The ordinance basically just provides for one addition. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it. The one addition in number 2, which states that single-family dwelling must have a foundation of 1296 or 975 square feet with a minimum of 22 by 22 foot attached garage and a 612 pitch. This language is found in all the other residential districts.
Is everyone recalling our discussion at the September meeting of this?
I believe,
Okay. Obviously, we won't have any public statements. Any questions that anyone has of the staff?
I think this is basically housekeeping, and we can't already discussed it. I don't think we have to go besides
I
that.
agree.
I only have something, because it's related to something else on the agenda. If you look on the second page of the ordinance, under D, conditional uses, that hasn't been cleaned up apparently.
Are you in the code book?
Well, I'm under ordinance number 153.03, and on the next page, there's A, B, C, D.
I'm sorry, I'm not following you.
In our packet, there's a staple section.
Oh, the other, okay. Okay, tell me again more paragraph.
Okay, so I just happened to be paging through that, and I saw that under D, conditional uses, and we're in estate lots residential, numbers 3 and 4.
This is the old language that was established with estate lots. This has all been superseded.
Okay,
This was
that's-
just given to you to show why the error
Why
was
it's
made.
going, yep, okay. Just wanted to make sure that that was all clear.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing and move to our next agenda item, which is,
Joe, do we need a motion and a second to recommend approval?
No, it's just closing.
Oh, I'm closing,
It's H.
I'm lost, I'm sorry.
usually it's me, Joe.
Name's the same.
Hang on, there you go.
We will move to recommend adoption of the proposed amended ordinance. And I would entertain a motion if someone is interested in doing that.
I will move that we adopt the resolution as drafted in our packet.
And I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Any discussion, Roger? No. Peggy? Barry? Tracy? Michael? Good. I will then call the motion to question. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passed. We'll move to the next agenda item, which is a discussion of animal husbandry. Jerry or Joe, would you refresh our memories on this one also?
Actually, this is an item that Councilmember Maroney asked that we have a discussion about. So I guess I would defer to Councilmember Maroney to lead the discussion.
I would love to just bring it up for a mention. Thank you, Chair. Most of you, except for Tracy, can recall some extensive work on animal husbandry over the last few years. It was, what meeting was that? In November, November, last year, end of last year, that a joint effort between city council, which was on myself, and planning and zoning, which I know you were a part of, and Jonathan, and everybody else that was there, came to what we felt was a rounded conclusion of what we could present for animal husbandry. Again, animal husbandry is having livestock on the property, how many units, we can all recall those conversations. At the time, planning and zoning had approved a ordinance to pass to city council of that amended recommendation from the joint committee. And at that point, it went to the city council, and it was made a motion and seconded, but then it was withdrawn, and a new motion was made, and you can see that in your packet. The motion was to accept it, but by removing wooded residential and estate lots residential, and to also require an interim use permit in the urban reserve district. Meaning urban reserve district is the only location that it could be. That motion did pass, and at that point, I felt that it was a removal of property rights from those in the wooded residential and estate lots residential districts. And I had asked that we bring it back up again in a joint effort again to look at it. I know we have our comp plan meeting, comp plan starting, and I think this is going to be a great discussion point for that. But I wanted to just bring it back to the P&Z to start with is, do we want to relook at it and present to the current council of the adaptation that we did present to them in the first place? Are you okay with leaving it as is? And again, I will be pushing for it via the comp plan at least for discussion, but I wanted to start here if this current P&Z is okay with it as it is, wants to relook at it, what the discussion is. Just open up the discussion. George, Jerry, anything else to fill in?
Not specifically, no.
Perfect. So I really leave it to you, Chair, and P&Z members for open discussion.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion. Roger?
Well, I brought it up a couple times. How many lots does this really involve? 10-acre lot, 5-acre lot?
There's a significant number of them that it does. We haven't counted,
Yeah, they're more than 50,
probably.
is there? So it is pretty good size, that number.
Is that both the estate and the wooded? Or
Yes.
each? Together, combined? Go ahead, Roger, you're right.
No, I was just wondering, you know.
Can't,
Breezy?
having come in the middle of it, I don't know if it's appropriate even to take this group's time, but is it appropriate for me to sit down with Joe sometime and bring me up to speed on it, as opposed to taking this group's time, the whole? That's a question. I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay.
And I don't want to waste everybody's time to rehash the whole thing. If I can do it appropriately with one person, Joe,
Gary?
To answer your question, I do believe that the discussion is appropriate to happen at this level. I do believe that you sitting down with staff would be an appropriate move also. I think this will give you a little bit of just a smattering of what the discussion is about. We'll get into the inner workings of it with you if you so desire at some other time. But I think that the discussion really happens here first and then goes on. But
like I say, I don't want to waste the whole group. time.
You will
I'd
not be
rather
wasting.
waste your time alone.
Well, see, it'd be, just having it being discussed refreshes us.
Okay, all right.
Because we talked, that was
Okay, all right.
quite a while ago
I
as
will,
well.
I will
Right.
quietly listen.
The other thing is that the intent, I don't believe, is to take any action whatsoever. It is basically to get a
Okay.
feeling as far as where we should go with this in the future. I don't think there's any intent whatsoever to change anything that's existing today.
As I understand it, Mike has shared his opinion on this with us, which is good. But essentially, you're proposing two options. Either we pursue.
I apologize if it's only two options.
Okay.
Those are my two options.
Okay.
Totally,
there
the
may
floor
be-
is yours.
Yes. Yes.
The floor is yours of what you decide. You can push it aside and move on. I just wanted to bring it up.
Those two options, again, though, Mike, are either pursuing the action that we have taken, the motion that we have taken, or leave as is until there is an opportunity to discuss it within the comprehensive plan revision.
Yep. Or reevaluate what we even did present in the first place.
Okay.
Things may have changed, opinions have changed.
So really, the discussion is around the options we have for moving forward. Do you have?
You all know where I come from on this, and I have lots to say, some of which I won't say at this time. I guess I have a question for Jerry and Joe. Has this come up at City Hall at all? Have you had any requests or anyone who's come in and talked to you from either of those divisions? In fact, anybody coming in to ask about animal husbandry in the last, say, year and a half?
Yes.
Okay, and they came in asking what?
They were asking whether they could have horses or sheep.
And where did they live?
And the last request was right off of Dove Street on a 20-acre parcel.
Okay.
And the answer, of course, was, today you can't do that. And they,
Not?
you cannot.
Okay.
They said, what, my neighbor has horses, why can't I have horses? And basically the response is the ordinance does not allow for that to
And
happen.
what kind of what zoning district are they in? It's one of those big ones in the green there, right up top.
Yeah, it's
right in here.
Yep.
So what's green?
That's wooded.
Wooded
Okay, and what's the size of the lot?
This
The
parcel
one
was a
particular one we're
20
talking
acre
about.
parcel.
Okay, so it's a 20-acre parcel that he's in.
Yes.
Okay,
He's on a 20 acre parcel.
I think that was the question.
okay.
Okay, so continuing that discussion then, when I look at this map, to me, there's a far cry difference in size and what would be adequate for a large animal, for example, in a lot like this, than in a lot, for example, and I'm going to personalize this completely because I think I'm the only one here who lives in an estate lot. Compare that to the size of the estate lots that we have. This is the estate lots.
Those lots that you're referring to, Peggy, are either 5 or 3 acre lots up there.
Which one's the estate? Yeah, I realize that. No, I realize that. But I think that the estate lots, some of them get bigger. But even by the same token, these here are the same category as this. This person right here asked in the past to have animals. There's a big difference even between that size and this size. So to begin with, we have lots of lots in the estate area. Let's say that there was a section like where we live, where the lots are between 3 acres and 8 acres. An 8-acre lot can have, under a description like they've talked about, if it's over 5 acres, they can have a horse. If the neighbor next door only has 3, they couldn't have a horse. I don't think it's appropriate in the estate lots at all. In a larger wooded residential lot, perhaps it's appropriate in terms of size. Whether it would be appropriate in terms of vegetation is another story. I know there was someone who came to the council in the past and talked extensively about what it takes to maintain animals. She regrets doing that, not because she's changed her opinion, but because she got a lot of heat from a particular individual who wanted to have animals. I have another letter from another person in our area who's on an estate lot who feels the same way. I would venture to guess if you asked people in estate lots, more of them would say, we don't think it's appropriate, and no, we don't want our neighbors to have large animals. Perhaps chickens, not large animals. And so that's where I'm coming from. It's based on what I know, having talked to all of my neighbors over there, as opposed to if you haven't had a neighbor request it, you perhaps haven't talked to them, and maybe some of you should do that and find out, what's the general opinion in this community. And it would need to be personalized. It's real easy to say vaguely, well, we should have the right to have animals if we have enough property. But the fact of the matter is, your right may also impinge upon someone else's property for things like odor and lack of vegetation, because the animals very often, like a large horse or cow, would affect the vegetation. You'd have odor because of the manure. Those are all issues that would have to be taken into consideration. And I think a 5-acre lot for a large animal is not appropriate.
I disagree. Yes, well, that was expected, I think. First of all, if all of your neighbors say they don't want an animal, you probably don't have a real big problem. I mean, if they don't want anybody to have a horse, they won't have a horse. The other side is on your 8-acre parcel, that's like 8 baseball fields. So that's a pretty good piece of land. And somebody living out in an 8 or 5-acre land, I mean, they've got a land and they have rights as well. If they wanted to have, they're not going to have a whole herd because 5 acres only allows them 1. If he wants 2, he's got to jump up to 10 acres. And going back further to what Mike's first question was, is yeah, I think it's appropriate for us to bring this up again, which was your question, and I agree with, because I helped draft it, the proposal that we have in front of us is we did a lot of compromising in that, because we were considerably more on the original proposal on number of animal units per size. We increased the number of the minimum size lot we made larger, and the number of animals we allowed was cut back. So we've already made a lot of compromises from where we were to allow people at least some rights in the community of Breezy Point. That's all for now.
Thank you. Tracy, any questions you might have? Opinions at this point?
I don't have any opinions at this point. And I have a lot of questions, but
And the question of rights, and I hear where you're coming from. The question of rights, okay, even within the district, if you live on a piece of property that's 4 acres, and I have 6 acres, and it's zoned the same way, then you have more rights than I do, or I have more rights than you do, based on a formula like that. We've set 5 acres as it's just an arbitrary number. So that means anyone who has less than 4 acres wouldn't have the same privileges as somebody who had 6. So how does the rights enter into it then? You can move, you can get a bigger acreage, I guess.
Well, that's where we kind of concluded as to what is a reasonable sized lot. It's just like I have 1/3 of an acre. The horse wouldn't have much running room on my lot, and even if I counted the other 3 lots that I got behind it, I can't even get close to 5 acres. I do allow deer in there, however.
you're over the number of deer.
Jerry, could you refresh my memory? Have we actually taken action on the committee's recommendation?
Yes.
It went to city council.
It did.
I believe you made a recommendation to the council, and the council took that recommendation and modified it quite quite frankly.
Okay.
And I think the vote was 3-1. You abstained. Oh, you didn't have to vote.
The recommendation, you acted on the recommendation
We
as
acted
a
on
planning
the
commission, made a recommendation. The council took that recommendation and revised it.
Other note, council's 40% different now.
Yes, it is.
That's correct, isn't it?
2 out of
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I knew it was, I just wanted
That's
something to
just
say.
too hard to, yes, 2 out of the 5 are new.
Yeah.
40%, yes, 4,
Okay.
carry.
What an accountant are you gonna do?
In,
40%.
in the package that we have, is this what the council,
This, what you have in front of you, Tracy, is what the planning and zoning had forwarded on to the council.
so that is not what the council,
Correct. They did adopt pretty much all of it, except they did remove 2 of the districts. And as you can see, I'll let you flip one more page. The motion was listed as of here to accept it as written, but modifying to remove wooded residential and estate lots residential, and to require an interim use permit in the urban reserve. That was new language
okay,
for
and
restrictions.
that language would have satisfied you.
No, I voted against it.
The original.
But the one that's in, that's,
Just because the past planning and zoning doesn't mean we all voted for it.
What he's looking at. if I
I'm
may-
looking, go ahead. Well, I'm looking, it says motion, William Schmidt to remove wooded residential and estate lots. And I gather that was accepted by the council.
That is a council motion.
Okay. Was it passed?
Yes.
Okay. So that council motion satisfies you, does it not?
No, that was Otto, that was not me that was voting.
Well, but, okay, but it says remove residential and estate lots.
Yes, oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking still about the motion, or that motion we sent.
No, no.
No, yes,
Okay, thank
to,
you.
to remove those, yes.
And Mike's issue, I shouldn't be speaking for you, Mike, is that you felt that that motion removed the rights of people who live in.
At that point, when it was discussed at the council, what?
Nothing. Jerry and I were just mumbling.
Okay, at that point, at that night, when the council had removed those 2 lots, descriptions, I felt that it wasn't due process, that there was no essential public hearing, that was in front of the public, and we removed rights that shouldn't have been removed at that meeting.
So hopefully I'm helping matters and not hurting them, in asking the commission if you are satisfied with the action taken by the city council. And if not, are you interested in continuing to discuss this ordinance?
What you're saying is, do we agree with the city council? Is that it? No.
Yes,
I do, yeah. Oh,
Based on my limited knowledge, I would agree with the city council.
Okay.
now, having said that, I absolutely think it's something that should be discussed during the comp plan, where we have many more members of the public,
Absolutely.
hopefully, sitting there when we have any kind of a hearing with the comp plan. Absolutely, I think it should come.
How do you feel about what Peggy just said?
yeah, I agree, yes. I mean, the city council approved it, so I guess.
Is it really any different than if 30% of the population owns a dog and 70% don't, that they would say, we'll make a motion, we don't think there should be any dogs in Breezy Point? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Does the majority always get to pick what's right for everybody else?
That's true.
Good point.
Tracy?
What is the time frame on the comprehensive plan? I mean, if we say, well, let's wait to see what that does that mean that's 4 years out? Or does it mean it's
The year out.
1 year out?
At least, doesn't it?
One of the goals, I think, was that it be done in 2018.
Start and finish.
Probably a year from now.
How do you feel, Larry, about promoting the discussion of this in the comprehensive plan?
Well, you want me to carry the ball?
Well, actually, I think I heard yes from the two of you.
Yeah.
Yes?